Hello everybody, I'm Lorenzo Marchessi and I'm here right at the beginning of this video we're about to watch to remind you to subscribe to my channel. It's very helpful if you do, and also please tell your friends, your family members, and share it if you can. Love to hear your comments and feedback, but just want to make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching and we'll see you soon. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Geek Authority Show. I'm your host, Lorenzo Marchessi, and this is the show where I get to interview all kinds of talented and wonderful people, be they actors, writers, directors, producers, cosplayers, musicians, you name it, I got it. Today, I have a very, very special guest, very personal a friend of ours. She's a singer and a dancer and a songwriter and a producer and a actress, and there's nothing she can't do. She's a quadruple ×2 threat. That's what I call him. Her name is Kristin Towers-Rowles, and thank you so much for being with me on this show. And you hold an extra special place for me and Michael, my husband, because you were at our wedding and you sang beautifully, and it's most remembered, really. People are still, just so you know, still talking about your singing there. I almost said your performance, but you're singing there, and how wonderful it was. So thank you right off the top.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Yes, it was a really beautiful day and it was really special for me to be there.
Absolutely. And I was nervous asking you, and you were so gracious to do it. And
oh my gosh,
I believe it's on Michael's Facebook page if anybody wants to see it. It's beautiful. But anyway, back to you. So, being this incredibly talented and versatile performer, actress, let's start at the beginning. Your family has a history in the entertainment business, and so I would imagine that when you popped into the world, you had maybe a little inkling to do this, or did it come later?
It's so interesting. I've never known a time without it because my first job, I was like 3 months old. I was in a like JCPenney catalog modeling at three months old. And then I grew up doing commercials and being on sets. My dad was, a film actor and a stage actor. And both my grandparents were on Broadway and in films. And so it was just kind of like other families fix cars. That my family does theater and film and all of that. Oh, look at that. Wow. I look super curvy on that. And that was pre-COVID. So yeah, I just it's just kind of what I've always done. I don't think that I knew that it was my career path, so to speak, until I went to Hollywood High Performing Arts. And while I was there, I got all the leads in the musicals, and people, like famous people, were coming to see shows, like Paula Abdul and all these people, and they would like wait to meet me afterward. Dick Van Dyke waited to meet me afterward. I was like, this is crazy. So I think at some point I was like, oh, maybe I'm good enough to do this, even though I had always done it. It had never dawned on me like, this is what I'm going to do, until I was like a junior in high school at Hollywood High Performing Arts. And
that's when the bug bit you? That's when you said...
Well, the bug, I was born with the bug. I am the bug. I was born, I don't know anything else. But when other professionals, like my teachers at Hollywood High and stuff, were like, you're going to go to like Yale School of Drama, right? And I was like, no, I can't afford that. My dad's a working actor. No. My dad is a character actor who wasn't a star. And that means he was making his living as an actor, but we didn't have a lot of extra money lying around.
Right.
He did
He,
commercials. My dad was on.
he was a busy character actor,
Yeah,
right?
so he was like my whole childhood. He was Captain Crook on all the McDonald's commercials. I don't know if you know
Really?
this, but he was in Star Trek, The Next Generation.
What do you
Hmm.
do? What do you do? What do you do?
He was a Ferengi, and he had a name, and I'm trying to remember what it is right now. Please don't hate me that I don't remember
Well,
what his
no,
name
I'm
is.
going to
But
go look it up. I'm going to
yeah,
go look
look it
it
up.
up.
He I think he was in Next Generation, and then another iteration of it later.
Like
So
Deep Space Nine or Voyager or something?
Voyager, I believe. Yes.
Okay. Very
Um,
cool. I had no idea.
yeah, I mean, my dad started doing TV work in the 60s, and I mean, he's in his 80s now, and the man has literally been acting for 80 years. He
Wow.
started at 5 years old in
You
radio.
know, and you know what's ironic about this is we had a Star Trek wedding, and you
Yes,
never mentioned your father was in Star Trek.
I know. I don't know how we never had that
How did you
conversation.
do that?
I don't know. That was a really I was not having a great personal time during like when you were getting married and all that. I was going through like some major stuff in my own life. And so I was kind of like just floating around at that time.
You realize that was over 7 or 8 years ago, right?
Yes, thank
When,
goodness that much time has passed.
when I was 12. No, just kidding.
Me too.
No,
So
you were
yeah.
like -8. No, anyway.
So anyway, yeah, that's probably why I never mentioned it. But yeah, my dad,
Okay.
I
Okay.
think growing up with a dad who was a working actor who like would go from, so my dad was like, if you've ever seen The Curious Case of Benjamin Button,
Yeah.
my dad is the older Benjamin. So like on the Academy Awards, they showed my dad's face and then Brad Pitt's face and then how they married them. And that
Right.
was new technology, that
The
CGI.
whole morphing. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Wow.
David Fincher directed that, and it was a big deal, and it won the Oscar for best effects and stuff. So
And makeup too, I think, right?
it was makeup. My dad wore those little like suctiony things all over him, and that was all new technology. He filmed for like 6 months after Katrina in New Orleans, and he
Wow.
fell in love with New Orleans, and then he had to go back for reshoots and things like that. So my dad has always been that kind of actor. Like he will do a movie, like star in a David Fincher movie like that, and then do 99 Seat Theater because
Right.
acting is
Now
acting is acting.
let's tell everyone who we're talking about. We're talking about Robert Towers.
Towers, yes.
So if you want to look him up on IMDb, make sure you have about an hour to read through his credits.
Yeah, and they for some reason have his birth date as like 1950 something. That is not correct. He was born in 1936. He's
Okay.
84 years old. He was born in New York City, and he has had an amazing life, and he is still acting.
Right. And Kristin's his daughter, who's got the genes. Let me tell you, when she sings, it's just, I've seen her in several productions. I don't know if it's okay to talk about this, and let me know if it's not. But I saw you on stage. You were doing, I forget what it was. I think it was an opera. Maybe it was an opera. No, it was Sondheim, something like that. And this is how professional and experienced she is. She, and I don't know if this is embarrassing or not, but do you remember a wig situation you had?
Oh yes. I just told this story yesterday because I'm
Tell it.
So basically I was playing Cinderella in Into the Woods with an opera company. And opera companies rehearse very differently from theater companies. Like you'll rehearse for like 6 weeks and do like 2 performances, which is really weird to me. But that's how they do things. And they do their productions at bigger theaters so that they sell out. And that's how they pay for the production. But it's still a lot of work for not a lot of payoff. So anyway, I was wearing a wig and a crown because I'm Cinderella. And Cinderella is supposed to run on, and she runs down these steps and falls. I have to time my fall to the orchestra. We had a full orchestra. And we had like one dress rehearsal, and I was working with a wig and a crown and stuff that I had not worked with before in front of an audience. This is why you always do a dress rehearsal with everything included. And so I ran down the steps and I fell on my butt and my wig fell off. And the audience exploded in laughter. And I
But as a pure professional, you just zipped right through
Well,
that.
what happened
You
was,
had a standing ovation after your number. It was amazing.
so the thing about it is that the next line comes from the baker's wife, and she says, "Are you all right?" And my next line is, "Oh, it's just these shoes," is what I'm supposed to say. But what I said was, "Oh, it's just these shoes and this hair," and the whole audience died. And so then I put the wig back on and I kept going. And then later, I'm supposed to run in again and fall. And when I did, I checked my hair and the whole audience died again. And I kept it going through the whole show because I was like milking it. I was like, well, they've laughed twice. They're going to laugh 3 times. And so, anyway, it was great, though. I used it. I just used it.
It was amazing. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you're only going to see in live theater.
Yes.
And you're only going to see with a professional performer who, things happen on stage, mistakes, blunders, bloopers, effects don't go, music isn't cute. And a true actor just plows through that and does what she can. And you really made it. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a better performance of Into the Woods than that.
Oh, thank you. I mean, just the show in general is so great. And my dad was in that with me. He was the narrator.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So my dad and I have gotten to work together several times. It's been really special.
Tarzan. I remember you doing Tarzan.
Yeah, we did the LA premiere. Actually, we were the first production ever of Disney's Tarzan in Los Angeles.
Gee, let me guess. Who'd you play?
I played Jane, and I played Jane very differently than I've seen her played. She's usually played kind of uppity, and I don't see her that way. I see her much more earthy. So I played her that way and it worked.
Yeah, tough. She was kind of like telling her dad what to do.
Exactly. And she's not typical. She walks around wearing pants and I like that about her. So.
And that actor you had playing Tarzan, I mean, I think you guys had a nice little on-stage chemistry because he played that whole,
Oh yeah, he was so great.
You wouldn't take anything from him. So, okay, let's go back a little bit. Now, we're talking about your father, an amazing actor, amazing performer, clearly a huge career. But there's someone else. If we go back one more generation, can we talk a little bit about?
So, my dad was married to my mom. Her name was Patty.
That's a good thing.
Yes. her mother was Kathryn Grayson, who was a big MGM musical actress. She starred in like 27 films and was a big, especially for musical films. She starred in Showboat. She was Kate in the movie of Kiss Me, Kate. Her leading men were, Gene Kelly and Frank Sinatra and Howard Keel and Mario Lanza and
those old has-been.
Those guys. Who all, because they were men in that industry, were all more famous than her. But she was beautiful and talented, beautiful voice, not a voice like we hear today. She was a very operatic.
I think you're pretty close, Kristin. I think you're pretty close.
I'm
I
close.
think you could read the phone book, sing it, and win an Oscar.
You're so sweet. It's funny because my voice is not the kind of voice you hear on Broadway anymore. My voice is closer to what my grandmother's voice was. So I've played a lot of those soprano old-fashioned roles because that's more.
I could see you playing Ariel or Belle.
Well, and I've done that too. So the difference is that I've had to belt. I've had to sound more modern. So I've been trained to do both. But my real legit soprano sound is definitely from a different era. And I don't mind that. I've been able to play Magnolia and Showboat on stage. I've been able to play Kate in Kiss Me, Kate, and really embrace the era and not sound like a 2021 singer trying to sing that. I actually sound correct because I trained to do that. So having her influence has been wonderful, but then I also have the influence of the fact that I work in musical theater in 2021, and I need to sound modern at times. I need to be able to belt. I need to be able to straight tone, which is something that.
Okay, yeah. For example, what do you? I guess I don't understand. What's the difference?
So
The tone, the key.
Yeah. So like you've seen Into the Woods, for example. Into the Woods is more classical. The sound of the music is based more on classical musical theater and classical music than it is modern pop, right? But then you've heard Dear Evan Hansen, right? Or you've heard Hamilton or any of the newer musicals where it sounds like those singers came off the radio today and it's more pop music. That is not how I trained as a singer. I've had to relearn how to sing that kind of stuff because that's not what my base as a singer has been. My base as a singer has been classical.
Wow.
So
Okay.
so
But you,
I trained essentially to sing opera, and I was accepted to a couple of different opera programs, and I didn't go because that's not what I wanted. I wanted to do musical theater, but I, with my range and my sound, I easily could have been an opera singer. Just not, it wasn't a world I was interested in being a part of, to be quite honest. I have
right.
not enjoyed my time when I have worked in opera. So I'm always like, thank goodness this isn't everything. Like I like singing the music. I don't love the culture. So I kind of steer away from it. I love
Okay,
singing
but
classical
you
music
can
though.
see yourself doing Hamilton, right?
No.
No, really?
Number one, there's nothing for me in that show. That show should be people of color. The only role I could play in that show is there's a dancer role. I'm way A too old and B not a good enough dancer for that role. So I leave
Well,
those kinds of
what
shows.
about the? There's the. I think the way he created that show, Lin Manuel, was about the diversity part. So I think
It
he's
is
suggesting
diverse.
that.
It really is the female roles. The female roles that are sung roles are always women of color for a reason. And I like originally when they were conceptualizing what the girls should sound like, they kind of based it on like Beyonce and Destiny's Child and that kind of sound. And personally believe that women of color should be in those roles. I would not even want to walk, go around the country in that show. I have a lot of friends in the show and on the tour or were on the tour until COVID. And those shows, their companies are filled with people of color as they should be.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you remember your first musical you did in high school?
Well, my first musicals, I was part of a company called it's now called Kids of Rock Theater. It's been around for like 40 years, but I was in Kids of the Century before it became Kids of Rock Theater. So I started doing theater and touring even to New York and stuff. I sang for the rededication of the Statue of Liberty at Lincoln Center when I was like 10 years old. So I've been performing literally my whole life. But my first big musical in high school was No No Nanette.
Oh,
I didn't play Nanette. I played Lucille, which is actually the better role. She has all like the diva songs. So I did that, and then I played Daisy May and Little Abner my senior year. And then I went to college at Santa Monica College for a year before I went to study in New York. And at Santa Monica College, I did a little night music. And that was my first Sondheim musical. And that was my first, like, I was raised on Sondheim music, but I had never done a Sondheim musical until college. And I fell in love, and that love has never stopped. That is, he is my first love. Forever. He is the genius of all musical theater. No one can tell me it differently. I teach it, I live it. He's the genius. There's no one else. Yes, we have like Jason Robert Brown, and we have some amazing composers now. And we've always had amazing composers, but no one can touch Sondheim to me personally. So I did a little night music in college playing Frederica. So that, I would say that is my first, like, because it was an equity production, even though it was college, there were equity actors in it. And I would say that was my first, like, out of school professional production on my way to New York. And then, of course, I went to school in New York at AMDA. which is the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, which is an intensive musical theater program. And then I graduated from there, and I lived in New York for a while. And I got a show that took me back to LA. And because I was born and raised here, as a young actor, you really are either going to be in New York or LA. Those are the two places. Being on stage, of course,
Now, are you talking for theater or are you talking in
I'm
general?
talking about period. Just as you can make a living in Chicago as an actor, but really outside of New York and Los Angeles, there's just no way to make a living as an actor. It is not possible. We have a lot more remote work now, so there are people, and we have now big studios in Atlanta and things like that. But in the 90s, when I graduated from college,
Right.
that was not it was either I stay in New York where I'm just like everybody else who's just graduated from a conservatory and is busting her butt, or I go back to LA where I had an agent already. It's a much easier hustle in LA than it's a
Right.
hustle in New York. I
And a
don't have
lot
to.
of productions have gone to Canada and so on.
Sure,
Like the
sure,
whole
but
CW is in Canada now, I think. So
unfortunately, they call that runaway production. So yes, there's certain American productions that are filming in Canada, and a lot of it is COVID related too right now. But there's also runaway production, and that is bad. Where when they take a production and it goes, and none of the like support staff for the production are LA or New York based, then they're not having to pay into those unions. And so there's a lot with that that's not good too for union actors, because I'm
right, and a
I'm
lot of
SAG
it
after in equity. So
right, and a lot of it is budgetary concerns because when a state like Georgia or Kentucky offers you, pays you to come out and do your show versus paying $300 a day for a cop to sit on your set,
right,
or a permit, $200 for a day for a permit, you're saving thousands of dollars
you're saving
going
thousands of
to.
dollars. It's unfortunate though, because in a city like Los Angeles, for example, just talking about our city, you have so many businesses and people involved in that food chain, right?
Right.
So you've got everything from the janitorial people to the
The
craft service.
caterers, the craft service,
Exactly. You've
the,
got dry cleaners.
the
You've got like
florists that decorate the sets, all of that. Yeah.
everybody. So that's why 25 years ago when I was in New York, and I was like, you know what, it's better for me to go back to LA because I just have more connection because I was raised in the industry in LA than I do in New York. And the minute I came back that week, I came back on like a Monday. On Friday, I was going to producers on a show called California Dreams to be one of the leads. Like, I didn't book it, but I was like between me and a girl that booked it. And it was like, okay, I have confirmation that I'm supposed to be in LA. And then what happened was I got my first national tour a few months later, out of LA. And I started working with this production team that kept casting me. So for about 5 years, I was either working on cruise ships or going on a national tour. So even though I was living in LA, I was still doing musical theater and touring the country professionally and making my living as an actor and a singer, even though I wasn't in New York. And so for
Wow.
me, it was working. It was like, oh, this is, I know I'm supposed to be in New York and eventually I'll get back there. But for right now, I keep booking. So I'm going to stay here. This is working for me.
Well,
Now, originally, I
you
was like,
realize
I'm going to go back and be on a TV show. And I just kept booking theater and traveling. And I mean, travel is my favorite thing in the world. So to be able to, outside of theater, travel is it for me because I just want to see the whole world. So to be able to work on a cruise ship and wake up in different countries every morning and then be on national tours where I'm sitting down for a week all over the country, it was just, and then I went to Asia, I went to Europe, working on the cruise ship, I was in the Panama Canal in Alaska. And I mean, I got to see so much of the world and I didn't have to pay for it. I was being paid for it. So it was like, this was working for me. And then when I was 27, I was on a national tour of VeggieTales Live, which is a horrible thing to talk about because this is what changed my life was VeggieTales Live. But I was wearing a costume that had a battery pack attached to it that weighed about 50 pounds, and I weighed about 90 pounds. And wow. I had been doing the show for about 6 months all over the country, and I was in Denver. And this was my last performance in Denver. We'd had like 10 shows that week. And by the way, I was getting paid more than I had ever made as a performer. The show was not union, but it was very well funded. VeggieTales was very popular. We were in huge venues all over the country. I was not an equity member at the time. I was SAG-AFTRA, but I wasn't equity. And I was in Denver. And if you know anything about Denver, it's the Mile High City. And the theater that we were working at had oxygen tanks off of stage right and stage left because it's so high up that you get lightheaded and people pass out on stage. There was like all these stories of like famous singers taking a breath and just passing out because it's so the air is thin up there. And
which means the body's getting less oxygen,
right.
And you're performing, so it's, you know, you're kind of countering yourself. So
I was performing, and I guess because of the oxygen level or something, I was working harder than I thought. And I did something in my costume differently than I had done. I don't know why. I don't know if I was lightheaded. I still to this day don't know. But I felt something in my back that felt like one of those games with the little balls in them that goes down and sits in little areas and goes down. What I didn't know was that I had basically squeezed my disc out of my back. The next day we traveled, and I was like, we went from Denver to Orlando, and we were so excited because we would have a travel day and then a day off. And so the day off, we were going to Disney World, and we were going to go hang out and have fun. I woke up in the morning after the day we traveled, and I couldn't feel parts of my leg.
Uh-oh.
And I was pressing on my leg, and I was like, what the heck? I could take a pencil and stab places on my leg, and I couldn't feel it.
Wow.
So I went to the stage manager, and I was like, hey, I think I need to go to the doctor. And all of a sudden, the producers come in, and they're like, you know what? We're just going to send you home. We're just going to. And I had like a contract to go through November, and this was April. And I was like, you're just going to send me home? I was like, no, I'd like to see a doctor, please. And they were going to just try to like, if they sent me home and I didn't go to the doctor while I'm on the tour, then I can't claim workers' comp. I can't, right?
Right.
So I go to the doctor, and he does an MRI, which was scary because I'd never had anything like this. I was 27 years old. And he brings me in, and he goes, see down there by your feet? That's part of your back.
The jelly.
Yeah. And he said, you have a 10 millimeter disc bulge in your L5S1, and your life has just changed dramatically. You will probably never be on stage again. And this was in 2002. So I was sent home from the tour. I lost my apartment. I moved in to my grandmother's guest house. I did not know what my life was going to look like. I had a friend who invited me to go to like a singles thing with her, which was at a church. I went, I met my husband. We became friends, and then we got married about like 2 years after we met. And I was told by a team of doctors all over the country in different places that I was probably never going to be on stage again. So I got married. I had 3 children back to back. They're all a year and a half apart. I now have a 16, 15, and 13-year-olds. Didn't know if
I got to ask real quick. The doctor said you couldn't be on stage because you couldn't stand? You couldn't dance? What?
All of those things that, like, if I took the chance of being on stage, that I could wind up in a wheelchair because you
could damage it more, is what they're saying.
Correct, because it's a spinal injury.
Right.
They offered me surgery, which I turned down because if you know anything about back surgery, it is a can of worms, because the minute you start with it, it's one leads to the other to the other. There's nothing you can do to quote fix it. It's like a temporary hold, and then something will slip, or they fuse your back and you lose all sense of mobility. And I just chose to do non-invasive things like physical therapy and yoga and do what I could to reduce pain stuff. So after having 3 children and losing 80 pounds, because I had 3 children back to back and I needed to lose a bunch of weight, I said to my husband, you know what? I need to get back on stage or I'm afraid I'm not going to make it. Like, I'm afraid I'm just going to like not breathe anymore. Like,
Right.
I couldn't explain it. I didn't think I would like hurt myself. I was just afraid I would cease to exist because he
Was your
was
husband supportive of this? In support of
so
all?
supportive. He was like,
What
well,
about your father, who's working?
oh yeah, he always wanted me to be back on stage. So I thought to myself, well, what can I do? I can quote park and bark. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but it's basically a term for like standing and singing. Like, I could do concert work, I could do roles that are more acting roles where I just stand there and sing. And so the first show back that I did, I played Casilda in the Gondoliers, which is a Gilbert and Sullivan, and I got to sing all these high notes. And I was still here. I was a mother of 3 like toddlers and babies at that point, and I was playing like the 17-year-old still, and I was in my 30s. So I was and then I got all these great reviews, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I still can do this. And so literally it was a snowball. I started working again in 2009. I hadn't worked for 7 years, and I went from doing kind of like community type theater again to just kind of get my feet wet, and all of a sudden I had my equity card and I was leaving town for a couple of months here and there to do equity work, and I won Musical Theater Star of the Year, and I started directing again, and I was directing like award-winning theater, and it was
Okay,
amazing.
okay, I gotta ask this because I'm sure people watching this are wondering. Because I have personally seen you do some wonderful roles, the Tarzan and the Sondheim and all that, and you are running around, you are acting, you are climbing fake trees or whatever. What happened that made your back? Did it get better? Did it heal?
No. So what I have found after living with this now for 19 years, this happened in 2002. What I have found is that I the thing that really hurts my back is lifting anything. So like when you have a disc problem, some people can't stoop, some people can't bend, some people can't um like do anything where they put their arms over their head because their particular injury impedes that. My injury impedes me lifting anything over 10 pounds. So like I get my groceries delivered. I don't lift the laundry basket. I don't lift costumes. So when I did Little Women, which I think you saw one of the productions of Little Women that I did, because I did 2, I after we closed, I was one of the producers on it too, and I co-directed. So I felt very much like it was my production, and this was in 2012. So afterward, we were loading costumes, and I was taking costumes one by one. Here's a costume, putting it in a truck. I was in bed for a month because some of those costumes were so heavy. They were period costumes,
Period costumes.
the 1800s, and they were just thick and felt like curtains, and
Right.
some of them probably weighed 15, 20 pounds a piece on the hanger, on the heavy hanger. I
Right.
was in bed for a month. So
Wow.
I have found that like things like kicking my head in a show doesn't hurt my back. But lifting, like if I'm in a production and there's no crew, which is very often when you're in 99-seat theater in LA, you're doing your own props and your own whatever. I cannot lift a set piece and bring it on. I cannot lift a chair and bring it on a lot of the time, depending on how heavy it is. So, yeah, that has been, and of course, there have been productions where it's like, oh, diva can't lift a chair for herself. And it's like, no, literally, like, I will be paralyzed. I cannot lift a chair, but I can kick my head or I can go upside down in the splits. It makes no sense, but that's as I've gone along, I have found what my limits are.
Right.
But going back initially was really scary because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. The second show back that I did was Smokey Joe's Cafe, and I was the shimmy girl who does this huge shimmy number on a table. And on our dress rehearsal, I wore one of the characters wore a big boa, and I slipped on one of her big feathers that was on the stage and fell on my back. And this was in 2009. This was my second show back, and I was like, I don't know if I just paralyzed myself. Somehow, with adrenaline and everything, I got back up and I did not hurt myself. I don't know. I literally, to this day, I'm like...
No pain? No nothing when it happened?
I had pain. I always have pain. So just so you know, like sitting here, I am in a state of pain all the time with my back. But after 19 years, you just kind of... It's my normal.
Let's switch gears just a little bit here.
Yeah.
You sent me some pictures, and I think I found one or two. But tell us about this. Is the awards you received, right?
These are some of them. I've been very blessed since I came back in 2009. I won Musical Theater Star of the Year, which was a huge honor to be in a town with. I mean, we have a lot of Broadway people in this town, and even though I've done 7 national tours, I've never been on Broadway. And there's kind of a hierarchy, like you're looked down upon if you haven't been on Broadway.
Wow.
In musical
I don't know if that's true. Is that true? You mean amongst your peers?
Yeah. Especially amongst there's a collective of people in Los Angeles who moved here from New York. And so if you're not part of that, you're kind of an outsider. Well, so I'm kind of an outsider among those people.
Look at that lovely lineage, putting it together. Violet, what were you in A Good Man, Charlie Brown?
I was Sally. I was Sally Brown. Mm-hmm. And then I directed Sweeney Todd, which won a ton of awards. I won a director award, but it won actually at the Stage Raws. It won Musical of the Year, so I was very proud of that.
Bombshell.
Yeah, this is very funny. This was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2018 now. This was a show that was being developed for cruise ships, and we filmed it at the Norris Theater in Palos Verdes, and it was all these bombshell women songs and numbers, and there was like an 8-minute Donna Summer thing, and I was 20 years older than all of these girls that I was working with, and I was kicking butt keeping up with them. In fact, the director was like, you need to watch Kristin. I was like, wait, I don't know about that. But so much singing and dancing. And so basically it was like a spec show that they were filming to sell to cruise ships. So this is after that show. I was totally getting there.
Oh, okay.
So after Lovely Lineage, one of the last times I did it, which was in 2019.
Theater West?
Theater West. I've done it, I think, about 20 times now. So I've done it all over the country, done it in Oregon and all over the place. So yeah, this was after that. And this is my family. Those are my 3 kids and my husband, Ryan.
Yay.
And this is a film that is in post-production right now. And I got to play a character that was created for me. This is a movie called Emily or Oscar, created by Christopher Alport. And actually that stage, I've starred in several shows there. I played Kate in Kiss Me Kate there. I played Millie in 7 Brides there. That's at the Warner Grand.
Warner Grand?
Yeah, in San Pedro, it's actually almost the exact same layout as the Pantages, and it was built by the same person. It's absolutely gorgeous theater, and I hadn't been in it in years. This is a web series that I was on called The Secret Office, where I'm playing kind of this like underground Russian spy. I'm actually a quarter Russian. My father is Russian Polish. And so I had never played Russian. I had to learn a Russian accent to play this role, and it was super
Nuclear
fun.
vessels. Nuclear vessels.
Yeah.
That's from Star Trek. Anyway.
And I got to play a Russian spy. So I'm like, oh, I found my calling. I need to play more Russian spies.
There
As a
she.
kid, she was a Russian spy with very high heels.
Yikes. Look at those heels. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's a
Headshot.
headshot. Yeah. Really a
Beautiful.
great headshot photographer here in LA. Rob, I'm trying to remember his last name right now, but he's amazing.
Hi, Rob. Good job, Rob.
Good job, Rob. Sorry, I'm old and I don't remember the last name.
Okay. What do we got going here now? Has your husband seen this?
So, oh yeah. This is I did some pinup modeling, and this is not that long ago. Again, like I had said, right around when you were getting married, and for a couple of years, I was going through like I don't know. I think my postpartum, like it waited until I had like a 10-year-old, and then it showed up. So I was just going through a lot, and I kind of rid my life of some people that I needed to rid my life of, and like fake friends and things like that. And so I did a model shoot for iconic pinups, and I'm like 42 years old here, and I was like, I'm gonna, I've had 3 children, I've lost 80 pounds.
And
um
you look 26 years old there. You
well,
don't
thank
look
you.
seriously. I mean, come on, people.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me or not? Look at those odds. Hey, are you watching WandaVision? Are you watching that on
I
Disney?
am. I
You could
love it.
fit right into the little town when every time she goes into the past.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Well, I've always kind of had like a throwback thing. This is my favorite role I've ever played. um it is a role that means so much to me because in the year 2001, right before I went to Europe, actually, um, I did this show. There's two versions of Violet in the show. There's the older Violet, which you see here, and
yeah,
there's
this is a play called Violet for people wondering.
correct. This is a
Yeah.
musical. It's a musical written by Janine Tesori, who wrote Shrek the musical,
Oh wow.
Caroline or Change. She's written a lot. So this show was done in the 90s at Playwrights Horizons, which is like an off-Broadway. It's kind of a think tank development place for new musicals. It had a short off-Broadway run there, and then it was kind of shelved. And I had done a lot of work at a theater up in Northern California called Sierra Rep. And they had me playing Jennifer in Paint Your Wagon there over the summer one year and stuff. And so they asked me to do a concert of their upcoming season. And so I saw what they were doing, and then there was a show called Violet. I had never heard it. I ordered the CD because this is before you could even like go online and look at music. And it came, and I listened to it, and I was obsessed. I thought, oh my gosh, what an amazing show. So I sang the song that this character's singing here. I sang a song called Lay Down Your Head for that concert. And the day after that concert, they called me and offered me the show, which was 6 months later. They said, we thought you did such a great job with the song. We want you to play Young Violet. This was like in December, and I was going to be playing it in May. And then in 2015, I finally got to play the older version of Violet, who's supposed to be 25, and I was 40 here, playing that role. And so it was a really big deal for me to finally get
Beautiful
to play.
performance too.
Thank you.
Amazing.
It was an amazing show.
Theater West.
Theater West. This was we did a tribute to Lee Merriweather.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah, and so I sang, and I got to strut around in my red dress, so that was super fun.
Oh.
That's I did a new, it was like a new version of a musical. And I was an equity guest artist in it. And that's my voice teacher, Wendy Cooper, who's amazing. And she came to support at Mrs.
How long have you had her as a voice teacher?
She has been my voice teacher since 2015.
Wow.
Yeah. This was recently I got to do a concert on Zoom through, there's this really neat series called Singers in Solitude. And it's been raising money for, like this was for the Inland Empire Coalition for Immigrant Justice, which is awesome. 10% of everything was given to them. But then it also raises money for singers that have been out of work. And so, and then I got paid from it too, and I wasn't even expecting that. So that was really neat.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, here she is.
Yes, that is my gorgeous grandmother. She was under contract at MGM starting at like 15 years old. She was born in 1922 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and her name originally was Zelma Hedrick. And when she got to Hollywood, they changed it to Kathryn Grayson. And
wow.
That's my mom's mom.
Wow.
So I had a mom. My mom was also a performer too.
So it's safe to say beauty just runs in the family.
Well, I think it galloped until me, and then it was okay.
Oh, there's Dad. Oh, this is great.
Yeah, that's my papa. So we have done a lot of performances together. I was lucky enough in the 90s, I actually was on a national tour with my dad. He was, I did the Mikado, and he was Coco, and I was Yum Yum. So my character was actually betrothed to my father, and she's supposed to be grossed out by him. So it was like kind of perfect because I was like, that's my dad. That's gross.
How'd your dad react to that? Was he okay?
We had the best time because, you know, it was the first time in my adult life where I didn't live with my father. I had my own apartment and I was always on the road. And so I got to spend like 2 months traveling the country with my dad, and my boyfriend at the time was with me too. So my boyfriend and I had our room, you know, that at the hotels, and then my dad had his own room, and then we would like have dinner together and go see things together.
I haven't asked you, how is your father doing now? Is he still okay? Everything good?
Oh yeah, he's awesome. He's so awesome. I think he had his second vaccination. So he's
good for him.
So he's still working. You know, he was in the new Perry Mason. That's on
really?
HBO. Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. And I got to tell you, people watching this, he is such a funny guy. He's such a down to earth. Oh. I mean, he's just, you can see the apple didn't fall far from the tree, because you and he have a great sense of humor. You're very personable and down to earth, because sometimes actors get a little, you mentioned the word earlier.
You know what I think part of it is, for me at least, I mean, my dad's been acting for literally 80 years too, is I think just, I didn't like move here from somewhere else and I'm like putting on this whole actor thing. It's just kind of like what I've always done. So I don't, because I'll meet people who come to LA and they think they have to become something.
Right.
Like they're like putting on a persona to be this actor version of themselves, when in reality I'm just an actor. It's just kind of like what I do.
Right.
You know?
And you can tell when an actor's just eating up a role or having fun. And he was clear. I mean, when he was your father in Tarzan, it was hysterical to see the feistiness and he played that, I don't know what to call it, but you're an actor, you know.
Oh, well, he just chews the scenery. Yeah. I mean, he played the professor, and he was like 80 years old and doing bell kicks. I mean, he's amazing. His career, you should have him on, because his career is amazing.
Would he do it?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
All right. Who we got next? There she is.
Yeah. I miss this. If there's anything I miss, I'm really, really girly in that way, that I really love wearing sparkly dresses and singing in them and looking very feminine. It's just kind of my thing.
Oh, this is a beautiful headshot.
Thank you. Yeah, my good friend Braden Hade did that for me. Again, I went through a lot of stuff. It was around the time when I was going through my kind of crisis, and so he was like, come take pictures. And so I got to wear like a really slinky dress and feel feminine and loved it.
Now, would you play Ariel? I think you'd be perfect for
I
Ariel.
think 25 years ago I'd play Ariel.
No.
Well, yes, and I have, I actually played Ariel in not the Disney version, but like the Hans Christian Andersen version for a educational theater thing. I have played Ariel, but I'm really Ursula.
Wait a minute. In the industry, they're going to see that picture, that headshot, and go, "You could play a 26-year-old. You could play,
Well, and on stage, I'm still like, I just played a college student in a reading. I mean, I do. So, one thing that has kept me going during this entire nightmare has been Yoga with Adriene, which is a free yoga.
You're referring to the pandemic, right?
Yes.
The nightmare.
The last almost entire year has been Yoga with Adriene, and my husband and I did Yoga with Adriene all throughout the pandemic of 2020. And then we're getting back to it now. I had surgery a couple months ago, so I've been healing from some stuff. But
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of yoga.
How long have you been married?
17 and a half years.
Wow.
17 and a half years with a 16-year-old who will be turning 17 in May. So we haven't really known married life without pregnancy and children. we were married 9 months when we had our first child. So I mean, it was literally like I got pregnant on our honeymoon.
So when the next 3 kids come, how are you gonna
They're not coming out of that online. That's not happening. Plus that would be science, because so he took care of things on his end, which was great. Because I had to heal from 3 births and nurse and the whole thing, lose 80 pounds 3 times. So the least he could do.
I just crossed my legs. Thank you very much.
But it's true. I want to say that because for people listening, there's so many men that are like, no way. And they expect their wives to do all these things. And it's like, hey, buck up, camper. You can do that. So this was a musical that I did called Spindle City, which was about Lizzie Borden. And I played an actual actress that Lizzie Borden had a relationship with. And I got to sing this great song in that outfit, and it was pretty phenomenal. It was pretty fun. And this is, a lot of people say I look like Ariel in this picture too.
Really? I love the dress. Oh,
it was so fun.
And that's your hair, right? Or is that a wig?
No, that's a wig.
Oh, wow.
It's a wig because in the first act, I have to look all proper, and I only had like 15 minutes, so we had to wig.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
I love
it. So it's hard to look at because this was taken March 1st of 2020. And
March 16th, it all happened.
Yeah. I had joined the cast of The Manor, which is the longest running play in Los Angeles, through Theater 40. There's some really amazing actors. I don't know if you watched Beverly Hills 90210, but the mom on Beverly Hills 90210 is in there, and she's a lovely lady I got to work with. And the man next to me, his name is Mikkel. His name is Mikkel, and we actually starred in All My Sons together at Group Rep a couple of years ago. So in this play, we're a couple again, but very dysfunctional.
And what's unique about this play? I didn't see your production, but I've seen at least 4 productions of it over the past couple of years. It's basically a murder mystery period piece done in an actual mansion, telling a story of is it real? The murder?
Yeah, so it is real. So this takes place in the Greystone Mansion, which is here in Beverly Hills. I loved doing this play.
It's all over the house. The audience moves with the cast.
Yeah, you get to go into different rooms, and some of the scenes, like I have a big scene in Act 1. We have to do 3 times in a row because they move the audience around. And so
so there's 3 sets of audiences that are watching the same show in different areas.
So I had to do the same exact, like, really super abusive, physical, crazy scene 3 times in a row. But my character is Henrietta, and she's a British kind of floozy. As you can see, it takes place in the 1920s.
She's a
Um,
flapper. Call that a flapper.
yeah, she's a performer, not a very good one. Which was really fun
With
to kind of
attitude.
you get to like be bad. I personally love playing like characters who think they're really great and suck. That is one of my favorite things to do because it's
And
actually really hard.
they end up being the funniest ones and
Oh
most
yeah.
memorable.
Like
So
I played Norma Cassidy and Victor Victoria, who's, completely untalented and she's
and
just kind of trash.
ditzy and yeah, it's.
But I mean, it's the most fun, and she's also really really dumb. I
Did
love
you
playing
wear did you wear a white wig for that or use your red hair?
blonde. Yeah, I was blonde for that. And then I think you also saw me play Audrey in Little Shop.
Oh my God, yes, at oh my Kentwood.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, he was Audrey.
yeah. I was an equity guest artist
Can
there.
I hear a little bit of that, Mr. Mushnick?
I know Seymour is the greatest, but I'm dating a semi-sadist.
Oh my God. I love the show. And then I think that's the first show we saw you in.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
back in 1874, something like that. I don't know.
That was in 2013.
Was okay. I thought it was further than that. Okay.
I
Wow.
actually closed that show on a Saturday night, and on Sunday morning I jumped into I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change at Crown City Theater with one rehearsal.
And we
So
saw that too. Oh my God.
that was crazy.
I think
So this was when I got to play Violet at the El Portal in North Hollywood.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out was I reviewing or just a stalker following you all over the place?
I think you reviewed Violet. I think you reviewed
Oh
it.
yeah, I was there opening night, I believe. So
Yeah.
this is at the El Portal in North Hollywood, California. It's a suburb of Los Angeles. For people watching it, it's a great theater. It's one of the oldest in town.
Yeah.
Um,
Really beautiful theater too.
and they got two stages now, right?
Yeah, they've always had two stages. The theater that we were primarily in was the small theater because
Right.
we were a 99-seat company, so we were working really intimately. And right before this show was when we did Sweeney.
Right. And then after you did Tarzan, right? Or was that before?
No, Tarzan was the year before,
Year
actually.
before. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh,
So, again, I was like 20 years older than this entire cast, and I couldn't believe I had to wear that, but I somehow pulled it off. Um, I was playing May in Wild Party this was at the Complex in 2016. And this show is very precious to me because I played this role then. And then last year in 2020, while I was doing the Manor as an actress, I was directing Wild Party at another theater here in LA called the Morgan Wixon. And I had the most phenomenal cast and team. I mean, that show was primed to win every award in town. It was so good. And we got to do one invited dress rehearsal and we shut down.
all because of that pandemic. Ugh.
Yeah. So literally, like, we went through our entire tech week, had our 10-hour tech rehearsals, the whole thing. And we did one rehearsal in costume, full blown performance rehearsal for 30 audience members. And they're the only people that ever got to see it.
Right. Wow.
It was heartbreaking.
So now you saw this above here, right? Right above me.
That's my website. There's
You have
not
a
a,
website. You have
there's
a you do.
there's not a ton to tell about at this moment, but I am doing a reading
What?
through
Okay.
it's like a time capsule right now because there it
Well,
is.
walk me through this. Where should we look at? What should we look at?
I will go on there actually and add. I'm about to do a reading of a new play through Theater 40, which I'll be doing next week, first week of March. Oh yeah, there's some media on there, me singing in the prehistoric age. And And then I will also be I'm also on a show that's really funny. You'd love it, Lorenzo. It's called Fritzy the German Kitty. It was created by Kelly Brighton, who's a genius, and I'm one of the voices on that show.
Where do we see this? Where is this?
Fritzy is on YouTube. It's on Facebook. You can look up Fritzy the German Kitty pretty much on
Are
any.
you Fritzy?
No, I play Melora and Mrs. Stewart. So I play two different characters. Mrs. Stewart is a British kind of uppity teacher, and Melora is a medium. So I get to do that. And on my Facebook page, I post all my like newer stuff. So anything that's current is usually on.
That's
there.
where we are. We're on her Facebook page. So if you see the bombshells, that's her. And I'll just do a little scrolling here. I love pictures.
Yeah, and like there's some more
Videos.
current
Okay.
video of me singing and things like that.
And what is this here?
This is in 2013. I was in a production of And the World Goes Round.
Go ahead.
I don't sing until later in this video. I sing probably a couple minutes in. This is me singing with this incredible guy, Ryan.
Where is this at? This is at the LA.
This was actually at NoHo Arts Center, which is no longer.
Yes, NoHo Arts Center on Lancashire. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it closed as an arts center, unfortunately.
I love that theater. I saw a lot of shows there.
After this is me singing A Quiet Thing, which I wound up singing on the CD of the new CD of the show.
Wow. Can you hear it? Does it sound good?
I mean, I hate watching myself, but yeah, that's it.
Why are you so self-deprecating? You're talented. You're beautiful. You're young-looking. You're amazing. Stop it.
I think
walk into my hand.
I think a lot of theater people are this way. We like to kind of put it out there and let the world decide rather than decide ourselves. I'm really good at like going, oh God, I've got to get my teeth fixed, and oh God, my hair, and you know.
Here's a good clue to know that what you're doing is good, better than good. Is you're always working, you're always performing. It's not. I mean, other than the pandemic, you are out there, and that's the best. I mean, I'm sure you'd rather be on stage than sitting at home, you know, making breakfast for everybody.
I think if there's one thing that the pandemic has shown me, it's that, you know, life is super short. I'm so glad that I went back to doing what I do while my kids were little, and I didn't wait until they were out of the house. I had 7 years of not working.
Wow.
And I think
the injury, right?
Yeah. I think it's really, and then having 3 kids in a row, I think it's really good for my children to have seen their mom busting her butt while they were little, and that it can be done. It takes a lot of balancing and a lot of crock pot meals and, you know, whatever. But
and clearly a very supportive husband who is obviously, you know, and your husband, we should say your husband's a musician, a teacher, a musician.
He is. So. He plays 17 instruments actually proficiently. His first instrument, you don't want to hear him on all of those. He's not going to jam out for you, but he can teach you how to play them.
You didn't just dish your husband, did you?
No, he's the first one to say it. Just to be a music teacher, you have to be able to like pick up an oboe and show a kid how to play it. But his first instrument is trumpet, and he is a very good trumpeter.
Wow. So he likes jazz?
That's his language, yes.
I love jazz. Cool.
Not my language. I sing jazz, but I sing like more, you know, like normal, like stuff you'd hear on a radio. He loves like putting on crazy things that are like non-melodic and go on for 10 hours. And I'm like, oh my God. So we're very different.
Like scat stacks and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like really like the stuff where it's just really like clashy. And I'm like, oh, it's hard for me because I was not raised in jazz. So my dad loves it too, but he didn't raise me on it. I'm a musical theater person. So we don't have the same taste in music, which is actually great because we can help each other appreciate things.
Just had to give a shout out to him too, because he's
yes, Ryan Rowles, my husband, a good man.
Very good. And nice. Again, your whole family's just amazing. Because I've met your kids too. They've come to the shows.
Yep.
When I met them, they were real shy, real quiet.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah.
That's funny. There, once you get
Because
to
you,
know
you
them,
introduced me. Oh, this is Lorenzo. He reviews my shows. And they were like, okay, whatever.
well, they're also like after shows for kids is so late, and they'd always like be there at like 10:30. Like they get up really early to go to school and it's a Friday night and they're exhausted.
Have they come
So
up to you after a show and said, Mom, you were just amazing? Or are they like, yeah, it's what mom does?
when they were little and it was cool to still be supportive of mom, yes. It is
Okay.
no longer when you're a teenager, everything your parents do is old fashioned and fuddy duddy. And then on top of it, I am really old fashioned and fuddy duddy. So it's like,
Real means real.
I'm not cool. I'm not cool, but I am very supportive of them.
Very cool.
They're all artists in their
Yeah.
own way and they're actors. And
Which
so.
is a nice segue to this next part before we close out here. I want to ask you now, people watching this, getting inspiration, listening to your roles, your family, your heritage, as well as all the singing that you do. Someone's considering doing theater or performing. Any advice that you'd give somebody who's teetering on, should I do this?
Yes, I will.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to give some advice that I think these are things I tell I'm training kids in musical theater and in musical theater history right now.
Okay.
Know the history of your art form. If you're going into musical theater did not start with Rent.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, the reason I say that is especially in LA, people are really into like the newer, more modern stuff and they don't know their history. And then like a show like Showboat will come up, and I was casting Showboat, which I was in, and I was sitting on the casting team, and we had people that walked in who were like, I don't know what this is about. And I'm like,
Really?
Now,
Do your
it's
research.
okay if you don't know some things, but Showboat is the first actual musical. Like musical theater happened because of Showboat. It changed our culture. So to not know what that is, like that's like saying what's Oklahoma, which also once again was groundbreaking, right? If you're going into an industry, know your history. Also, know how hard you are going to have to work.
How do they know that?
Well, you are going to work as hard as you love what you do. So if you can imagine yourself doing anything else, go do it. That's what I tell everyone. If you want to do theater as a hobby, do it as a hobby. Or you just want to, do it on the weekends, there is nothing wrong with that. Go get yourself a nice job with some comfort and do it on the weekends. If you want to do this for a living, you need to be prepared that none of the normal social milestones that everyone else around you is going to have are going to happen because you're not in control of the time it's going to take for you to, quote, make it. It is not in your hands. What is in your hands is hard work, perseverance, busting your butt, knowing your history, knowing how hard you are going to have to push yourself. And that you can do nothing and it won't matter to anyone else. Right? It's not like when you go to a 9-to-5 job and you clock in, there's a boss that's like, did you show up today? That's when you're your own boss and I'm my own storefront. I have to sweep my storefront, meaning I strap on my Fitbit every single day and I get my 10,000 steps so that I keep my storefront looking the way my storefront needs to look to get hired. I am constantly learning new material. I am doing readings. I am taking on different kinds of roles than what I'm comfortable with. I'm singing
which is a
music
good thing, right? That's a good thing.
Yes. These are all things that as actors we need to constantly do. It's a muscle. You need to work it. And you need to be prepared for the long haul. You are not in charge. If you haven't, quote, made it in 2 years or you moved to LA and 6 months later you're like, why aren't I the lead on a TV show? You are not living in reality. That's not how it works.
Right.
I mean,
And would you say
sometimes
having
it does, but 90% of the time, that's not how it works.
would you say having a thick skin because you're going to be
Oh,
rejected more than accepted?
yes. Yes. Like of steel. Because
Okay.
I've walked into plenty of auditions and, had to wait 3 hours. I've got a resume longer than my arm, and I'm waiting 3 hours to be seen and sing 16 bars and have them say thank you. That's how it works. Why? Because the reality is, I'm a woman in a business where most of the people in my business are women and there's more roles for men. So do that math.
Wow.
Because
Even today? Even today?
even today.
Wow.
If you look at most musical theater is about stories that have to do with men. Look at the play 1776. There's two women and a bunch of men because it's about the founding of our country when women were 3/5 of a person. So you've got two women. I'm truly. So you've got two women and they're both wives of someone. Not to say that not musicals haven't been written since, but what I'm saying is the odds are not in your favor if you're a woman in musical theater. There's more roles for men, less men doing in the art form, and more women trying to get those small amount of roles.
Right. Would you say that applies to like plays like today, like Hamilton? I mean, as far as the
Yes.
really, because aren't there like 4 women leads in that one?
Yeah, but look how many men are in it.
But not leads. There's only maybe like 4 other men leads, right?
No, there's more male leads than there are female leads in that show.
Wow.
And character roles. There's more male character roles.
Wow.
But again, it's about the founding fathers of our country, right? Again, it's our culture and our temperature is going to be reflected in our art. Yes, there are great women's roles in that show. Yes, there are maybe more than other shows, but musical theater up until 1996 was formulaic, and there was always a lead woman, a best friend, and tons of great roles for men.
Right. As you say that, I'm thinking of shows like, Annie Gets Your Gun, No Business Like Show Business,
Sure.
Annie.
There's one great female role and a lot of great male roles, even in those shows that you just mentioned.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Oh, wow.
It's just numbers. It literally is. There's more roles for men, period, the end, and there's less men trying to get those roles than there are women trying to get the fewer roles that are available for them.
Wow. And I think the little switch of that is a lot of the Shakespeare plays have a lot of women roles, probably not as many as the men, but back when he was writing it
was all men.
The men were playing the women parts. It's like, go figure.
Exactly. So I don't know if you know this, the music center, the Amundsen, and they were about to put up a production of 1776 that was all women of color.
Nice.
And then, of course, COVID ruined that.
Right. But I got to tell you, I saw a production of Hamlet, all female.
That's awesome.
Not one, and it was amazing. And I was just blown away by the whole. Why don't we do more of this?
The great thing is we are seeing more of it now. It's also that women and people of color are loud, and they're done. They're done. Baby is sick of being in the corner, right?
Right. I'm here too.
Exactly. And then, I'm also a female director. And so I have faced a lot of BS being a woman who directs. I've had such crappy things said to me the entire time that Sweeney Todd was running. I always gave a curtain speech. And at intermission, it never failed that some guy, would walk up to me and go, "Wait, you directed this?"
Wow.
And I was always like, why are you so shocked? Like, what? I don't know. Are my boobs too big? Is it like, what is it? what is it that's so shocking to you about the fact that I directed this? I'm still to this day like,
Oh my
if
God.
you know me for 3 seconds, you know I'm capable of it. But it's that they didn't
Did
know
you
me.
did you answer him that way? What was your response?
Well, I would just be like, well, sometimes I was not nice. I'd be like, I know, me with my boobs and stuff. How did I do it? I was not nice about it.
That's why
Because
I love
I'm
you.
like,
Oh my God.
I mean, there's just so much. First thing, theater is just misogynistic to begin with.
Oh
It
yeah.
is. It's the culture is like 90% of theater is directed by men, and there's a very few amount of women who have kind of branched out and started directing. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I was like,
Okay.
I'm perfectly capable of this, so I'm just going to do it, and I've won a ton of awards because of it.
Absolutely. And you're good at it. You're brilliant at it.
Well,
You know
I
the art. You're there for the art. You're there for the performance. You're there for
yes,
the storytelling. You're there for the ambiance of the whole. That's what it's about. It's not about whether you have boobs or a anyway.
well, and
Chemically.
some of the best directors I've ever had have been women. Like
Yeah.
I've had
Well, it's funny. I
female
wanted to tell you that one of my favorite new shows is on Disney Plus. It's called The Mandalorian.
Yes, I
And
love it.
and I love what they do with it because they don't give the credits until the end. And I gotta swear, in first season and second season, my favorite episodes were directed by Bryce Dallas Howard,
Yes, she's
who's a woman.
amazing.
Those were my favorite episodes, and
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
and her father is an incredible director. She learned. She's also an amazing actress. She has this is what I say when you're an actress who also directs, you have a 360 perspective. I know what it looks like on all sides of the stage. I don't direct film. I've never directed on camera because I'm not really on camera very much. But I'm sure I'd be okay at that too. But I'm really good at understanding how to speak to actors and how to get them because I have had so many bad directors in my life that I think to myself, okay, what has been said to me that doesn't work? I'm going to do the opposite of that.
right.
And
And
then
you're an actor's director, so you can speak to the actor. If you got your lighting designer, you can speak to in their terms or
yes,
whatever.
yes,
So,
indeed. I
uh,
didn't go to school for directing, so sometimes I'll be in like a tech rehearsal and I can tell like my lighting designer, Derek Jones, I love you so much. One of my lighting designers, he'll say something to me like, do you want the 45 on the blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, I do not know what you're talking about because that is not my area. And like, if I had gone to NYU to be a director, I
but
would know more of that technical stuff,
right, but you can tell him what you want as a director, right?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Sometimes he has to dumb down his questions though for me because I'm not a director in that I don't have a master's degree in it. So
Right.
there's some things that I've had to learn on the job.
Right, and that's what I was saying. Your education may not be the technical side of the school. You're getting the school of hard knocks. You're getting
Oh
it.
my gosh, yes.
So
Yes.
yes,
But
okay.
when we come back from COVID, I am directing my first national tour.
Wow.
I'm
What
directing
is it? What's the show?
So I directed a play at the McCadden Place Theater in 2019. I directed it was a world premiere of a show called The Lost Virginity Tour. And it's about 4 women who live in a retirement facility and they have a baking club and they get to talking in their baking club about how each of them lost their virginity and they decide to get into one of their cars and go on a national tour and go back to each of the places where they lost their virginity and tell their stories to each other. And all these women are 55 and over.
Oh my
It
God.
is a phenomenal play. We got the critics pick of the week through LA Times when we did it. And then after we did it at the McCadden, it was picked up by Jeannie Linders, who was the executive producer of and creator of the Menopause the musical.
Hello.
Well, and also the women are of a certain age and their stories need to be told. How often do you remember going to the theater and hearing about a woman who's in her 70s talk about the time she lost her virginity
Okay.
and
So
being
is
in
it
love,
is it the older women telling their stories and then there's another actress playing the younger version of them?
No, it's these women telling these character stories.
Wow.
And it's awesome. And it's fictitious. It's not true stories, but every single story is something that you can relate to as a person, not even just women. I'm
Okay,
really excited.
when that happens and you go into production, if you get a chance to check out my channel, I have a thing called Making Entertainment, and I'm starting to gather cast and crew, actors, writers, directors of a project, talk about that project before it opens, so we can, basically.
Great. That's awesome. We'd love that. So
Okay, so I always do this at the end of my interviews with people. I'm going to throw up a couple, questions for you. Just give me the first thing that comes to your head. Ready?
okay,
Okay. Favorite musical?
Violet.
Favorite comedy?
The Play That Goes Wrong.
Favorite theater? And it can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be LA.
Okay, when I was on tour, I don't remember the name of it, but I was on tour with the Mikado. I sang in a theater in New Hampshire that was an old opera house, and it had under the seats a place for you to put your top hat. It was so old, from like the 1700s. There was like a space for your top hat under the seats, and the whole theater was built with wood, and the sound was incredible.
How about your favorite movie musical?
Little Shop of Horrors.
Really? Frank Oz, huh?
No. Was it Frank Oz that directed that?
You talking about the favorite movie musical?
Yeah. So Little Shop with Ellen Green and Rick Moranis.
Frank Oz, Fozzie the Bear, Miss Piggy. Frank Oz directed it.
I didn't realize that. I love it so much. I think it's such a well done film.
Wow. You didn't know Yoda directed it? No. Okay. Favorite, say, classic film?
Casablanca.
Really? Wow. Mine's It's a Wonderful Life. I'm a big Jimmy Stewart fan.
So good. So good. So classic and beautiful. I also love On Golden Pond.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. The loons.
So gorgeous.
I mean, that whole... It took them a while to get that together, because Jane produced it. So
right.
Henry wasn't up, And look at that. They both end up with Oscars, but whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite drama as far as play goes? I think mine is A Streetcar Named Desire. Actually, no. Mine is 12 Angry Men. I've always loved that stage play.
There's a play called Requiem for a Heavyweight.
Heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Really great play. I think my favorite drama I've ever been in was All My Sons. Okay,
Kristin, all I can say is thank you so much for doing this. This has been informative and amazing. And have I mentioned how talented you are and your incredible voice? Did I thank you for doing our wedding? I want to make sure to cover all my bases.
It was such a fun thing to be a part of your wedding. It was
really so nice to hear. I mean, people still talk about it. They loved,
It was a beautiful wedding, you guys, and it was so unique. No one has ever had a wedding like yours. So it was like, that's the great thing. And I used to be a wedding coordinator a long time ago, and I can't tell you, like, the cookie cutter boring weddings that I was a part of, and to have your wedding where you guys, like, it was about you, and
you want to tell everybody who has no idea what was it like from your perspective?
Well, I'm not a huge Star Trek person. Don't get mad. I know. I like Star Trek, but I don't know it like you guys.
Your father was in the show twice.
I know. It doesn't matter. I also, I was so lucky in my 20s and 30s. I was working so much. When I wasn't working, I was having babies and nursing and then having more babies. So I didn't have a lot of time to get into anything. Now I'm like all into stuff like WandaVision, and I love, what was the one that was on HBO based on the
Are you watching The Crown? I love The Crown.
Love The Crown. No, the one on HBO, Lovecraft Country. Did you watch Lovecraft Country? Oh, so good. Plus, I just love stuff that's like socially relevant, and Lovecraft Country and The Watchmen. Did you see Watchmen?
I did see The Watchmen.
Oh, I thought that was so good. So I have gotten into some things because of COVID, because I've had time. But your wedding was definitely was first thing was in a beautiful place. It was Castaway here in LA in Burbank.
Burbank,
Has
California.
beautiful overlooking the city, and then just you guys had a Star Trek theme, and I was singing from Star Trek, and you came out carrying the dudes. What
The Tribbles,
are they called?
Tribbles.
The Tribbles. That was so cute. And it was just beautiful. You had a gorgeous, gorgeous wedding. One of my favorite pictures I ever took was at your wedding. I'm wearing my red dress, and somebody, I don't remember who took it. Somebody took a beautiful picture of me there. So
well, you looked gorgeous. We got you the corsage, and
yes, I had a corsage. I felt so special to be a part of your day. It was just gorgeous. And every year you guys post about it, and it's such a lovely memory.
Wow. Anyway, I just I had to hear it. I've never asked you that before, so
I loved it. I loved it.
I never asked you.
I've sung in a lot of weddings. Like I said, I've sung in a lot of weddings, and I don't. There's not always like deciphering from each other because a lot of weddings are very much the same. So yours was very unique and special.
And you literally picked up the song like 3 days before, and nailed it. I mean, that's how good she is. So she's available. She'd love to be in the next. Did you hear they're remaking West Side Story?
Oh yeah, they're the film. I think it's done. It's in the can.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to come out.
What's your opinion on that?
I mean, the first movie is such a perfect movie. So I would say no one should touch it, but it's Spielberg. So I'm kind of like, well, it's Spielberg, so that's okay.
Okay. The only comment I have to that is, the comment I make to the movie called Solo, a Star Wars story,
Yes.
The younger version of, even Ron Howard couldn't save that.
Yeah. I mean, it might be a dud. What I do like about it is that an entire new generation will be introduced
to Rodgers and Hammerstein. Yeah.
Because it's not just it's West Side Story, so it's Bernstein. So
Bernstein, yeah.
Yeah. So it's Sondheim lyrics.
If
you watch the movie now, there is a lot of kind of dated, like daddy-o, and some of like the dated terminology that if you're a young person, you're going to be like, this is old. So if he's remaking it and he's taking some of that out of it and keeping everything else intact, I mean, what I've seen, the little splices and stuff, it looks really good. I mean, the dancing looks amazing. He's doing it like in actual streets in New York, not on sound stages. And the cast is like legitimately Puerto Rican. So,
wow.
I think it's going to be good.
Is it true? The rumor I heard is Miss Moreno she's in it?
Yeah, I think she's playing like the Doc or something. She's playing like, instead of Doc being a guy, Doc is a woman, which is great. Again, this is Romeo and Juliet, so you can kind of mess with it however you want.
Yeah.
Although, of course, West Side Story was its own thing, and there were writers, but if he was able to shift it up and make it more modern and keep that amazing music intact, and you're going to have an entire new generation of kids who are right now into Hamilton and into musicals. We're going to be like, let's check this out. I mean, it's one of the greatest musicals ever written. So maybe that movie will then be a gateway for them to check out other Bernstein musicals and fall in love with Candide, and and then look at the old version of the movie and go, oh my gosh, because it won a freaking Oscar. It's amazing, It
is. Robert White.
That will get them there. I look at everything these days because I'm teaching teens. Mm-hmm. I look at everything as like a gateway to getting them to like dive deeper.
Interested. Research. Follow up.
Well, like I'm teaching musical theater history, and
okay, I got one last trivia for you. How can you tie West Side Story and Star Trek together?
Is it George Chakiris? No.
Robert Weiss directed the West Side Story.
Yes.
He also directed Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, I'm done. Enough of Star Trek.
I have to learn more.
You are okay. Anyway, it's amazing talking to you, Kristin. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for
This, I think
having me.
people are going to learn so much. Your advice is valuable to those, thinking about it, the tough skin, everything. People need to hear this, especially this pandemic. When it all goes away, we need to pursue our loves and our crafts, whatever they are: writing, directing, acting. You want to take pictures, you want to build sets, whatever you want to do. It'll all come back slowly,
Yep.
but it'll all come back, and
Yep. Yep.
we need to stay safe. So, for those of you who haven't yet, somewhere on the screen there's a button that says subscribe. Make sure you push that button. Also, don't forget to click the little bell. That'll send you an email and let you know when I drop something new, and you can watch it at your convenience. Real quick, I just want to go over some of the other shows that I have. The TGA's Mysterious Chamber of Collectibles. That's where I go into my own collection, personal collection, show you things that I've been collecting for so many years, and you can see what's out there. I also have another show called Unboxing the Geek Authority. People send me things for the first time, or I get things for the first time, open it up right in front of the camera. You get to see it, I get to see it. The reaction is real and true. And we're talking games, toys, collectibles, that kind of thing. I also have another show called TGA's Talk About. I get together, family and friends. We talk about different subjects and topics. Some of them have included the original series Space 1999 with Martin Landau and Barbara Bain. All the way through, we've talked about Cobra Kai, the new series on Netflix, which is raving the country. Also, there's a very emotional show about Disneyland and California Adventure closing. It was supposed to be an hour, ended up being 3 shows because people started bringing out their emotions and their own personal collectibles and realized we didn't realize what we have until it's not with us anymore or available. The other show that I have, which is brand new, is called Making Entertainment. It's actually one where I talk to production companies, cast, crew, directors, writers, producers, technical people about a production that's being made as we record it that will be released in the future. So it's a great chance to look at what's coming, how it's made, how it's produced, and kind of get you more excited about the project. Other than that, I will stop talking because I do that a lot. Thank you, Kristin. This has been amazing. Let's say goodbye to our audience. And I'm going to put all your information below so people can click on your website and follow you, that kind of thing. Facebook too.
Hopefully I'll have more news soon.
Absolutely. And touch base with me every time you do a production, and let's do a show like this with your cast and crew.
Would love it.
This would be fun. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Kristin. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.